All right, everybody, and welcome, welcome, welcome. We are here. I'm TJ.
I'm Julie.
And we are here to chat about Cars 3
Woohoo!
and Lou.
And Lou.
And we're going to get everybody's opinion. We're going to talk about our opinion of it. Of course, as I always have to show at the beginning of these, I actually brought this notebook to the theater with me.
On his fourth showing this weekend.
Well, third this
weekend. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I saw it in a bunch of formats. We're going to talk about 2D, 3D, IMAX. We tried to cover the gamut.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll cover all those. And then I've got some summary of notes from people in the forum and some other thoughts that we had. So
and mine are in here.
And hers are in there. So we've got, of course, some great people that are hanging out with us in the chat already. Bobby Swift fan, you're always like the first one in here. Lightning McQueen, the official Lightning McQueen is here, people. Warren's Car Collection. So hello, everybody. Buddy. Isael Prado, and I'm probably mispronouncing that again. I apologize. Let me know if I am. Stickbot Pro, Lauren West. Boy, oh boy, we got a lot of people out here. Florette Parent, De Epic Norwal, welcome back. And let's see. So yes, Angry Man 161, Pixar Jedi, Kanye Bedford. So hello, everybody. All right. So of course we are also joined by a special guest as always, and this time it is, well, we had him on last time as well. So Mr. Jeff Kays from This Day in Pixar. Say hello, Jeff.
Hello.
Yeah.
How's it going?
It is going great. We are super excited to be able to talk about this movie. Ashley Gettings joined. Hey, Ashley. Perfect. I'm pronouncing Isael correctly. Yeah, so we're excited to finally talk about this movie. So I saw the first 45, or not the first 45, about 45 minutes of it in the middle of there at Pixar. We're going to actually talk about not only the different screenings that I saw this weekend, but I'm going to compare the screenings that I saw to the Pixar theater and some of the differences as well. We're excited to talk about that. We're excited to talk about Lou and so much more. Boy, oh boy, there's
to talk about.
So much to do. So what I was thinking first, and you guys can give me your opinion, is I was thinking we could give our overall thoughts, just real high level on Cars.
Okay.
Then actually bounce to Lou, and then actually come back and do like the details of Cars.
Okay.
Work for you, Jeff?
Sure, I'm cool with that.
Okay. So
no, I don't have like pages of notes, and I've only seen it once, so my high level is going to be extremely high. And
consider yourself like a next gen rookie.
Okay,
then I'm in the next gen rookie too, because Jeff, though he saw it 3 times this weekend, I saw it once, and I had a wiggly 3-year-old sitting on me. So,
So okay,
where is Leo? Is he?
He's sleeping.
Is it good work?
He's sleeping. Yes.
He's napping.
Yeah, he is not napping. He's sleeping.
Oh, he is sleeping. Yes.
Bobby Swift fan, your name's Jeff as well, so I didn't know that. So
excellent.
Perfect. The Epic Norwal says they saw it twice as well. So I guess the first thing I want to know overall, and we're going to go to Julie first, on a scale of 1 to 10, or if you want to do it in percentages, just 0 to 100%, what do you give the film? And I'll also throw that out to everybody in the chat as well, so there's a little bit of a delay while we're talking about these. Throw your either out of 10 or percentage, and we'll start talking about some of those too. But what do you give it?
On my first viewing, I would give Cars 3 a solid 8.5 to a 9. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny is, seeing all the previews and stuff, I was pleasantly surprised with Cruz's character, with how her character evolved, because I wasn't quite sure when we first meet her that she's not crass, but she's just she kind of digs at Lightning McQueen. And I wasn't sure if I was going to like that kind of personality, but I love her. I love her.
Very nice.
And I guess we'll kind of talk about this too. There's so much merchandise that's Cruz Ramirez related. And I really wish that, I know they couldn't have waited to put out the Cruz Ramirez merchandise with her as just a yellow car, but I really wish they would have waited so her car, most merchandise had her Dynaco, like the Dynaco wrap on it with the number 51.
Right.
I wish all of her merchandise would look like that rather than just a plain yellow car, because to me that is more exciting. And I really liked how her character evolved.
Okay.
I was pleasantly surprised with that because that's what shocked me the most.
Okay. That is a...
I thought I would have rather have seen her in the merchandise as only the yellow car. Because, and did you talk about it on one of your podcasts? It seems like we talked about, I thought one of you actually kind of thought, I mean, I didn't really know how the movie was going to end. And this is a spoiler review, right?
Correct.
Oh,
So
yes.
thank you for clarifying that. For anybody that's here, and we talked about it in the actual description of the YouTube video, but yes, 100%, we're going to talk about the movie here. So if you haven't seen it, if you're avoiding spoilers, I guess you can check this out later, and you can stay up to date with all the latest Pixar news on our site. But yes, we are definitely going to talk about it, and we want to talk openly and freely about it. So from this point forward, we're going to consider this spoiler time.
Yeah.
Okay. So I can't remember if you talked about it, or I thought you did on one of your podcasts, but I thought seeing her with the Dynaco wrap on it, someone had said, maybe that means she'll be racing. And so I kind of expected that as we got closer to the end of the movie. And so it wasn't as much of a surprise to me, I guess.
Yeah, I think where we talked about it, because we talked about it a little bit too, it would have been awesome if they could have kept that surprise in the same way that they really tried to keep Bing Bong under wraps for Inside Out.
Mm-hmm.
Right, yeah.
But what you're saying too is just the design was so awesome.
I love the design of her car.
That you wanted more of that.
Yeah, and like, we bought the Cars 3 Golden Book, and we've been reading it to our son for like a month and a half now.
Yeah.
But so I knew where the story was going. I knew what was going to happen, but I didn't know how her character, like the tone of her character, I guess, was going to evolve, and that's what I really liked.
Yeah, and I'll agree with that too. I loved her character and her arc. Oh man,
yeah,
I really enjoyed that.
Very cool. Oh, absolutely. So, what do you give it on a 1 to 10, though, Jeff? Or
I would say right around an 8. I really enjoyed it. We've talked before. I'm a huge fan of the Cars franchise.
Oh yeah,
and
so
number one is just way up there for me. So I don't know if it quite reaches number 1. I thought the messages and the message of the film in this one is super timely, and so I really enjoyed that. But yeah, I don't know if it's quite to the number 1 level, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think as far as for number 1, I don't think you're going to beat it for me. Where it comes in is that's where I get introduced to Lightning McQueen. That's where I get Radiator Springs and all that, the slowing down with a ton of racing. So I don't think that I agree. I don't think you're going to beat Cars 1 for me.
Mm-hmm.
But this I absolutely loved. When I originally rated it in our written post on Friday, I gave it an 8.5 out of 10. I'm leaning a little bit closer to 9 out of 10 at this point, just after the rewatches and some of the other things I've written down. And as far as for some of the folks in the chat, Pixar Jedi 10 out of 10, William Hutchinson 9,999%. That's pretty high. Angry Man 8 out of 10. I give it a 7. It wasn't as memorable, but it was interesting. 9 out of 10 for Kanye Bedford. 10. 10. Well, looks about
100%.
10 gabillillion from Bobby Swift fan. We had another 9, 9.5, 8, 8. So lots of different ratings throughout
10 out
there.
of 10.
Yeah, there's lots that are out there. 7.5. 7.5 or 8 out of 10. So yeah, so it's really the lowest we're hearing is around that 7, and then some people are going all the way up to a 10. So overall, I mean, between a 70 and 100 is certainly not a bad flick by any means, if I can say so myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of people are going back and forth with which one they like better too. It's tough to say that. Okay, so I do want to ask though, before we go into Lou as well. So we gave our kind of overall thoughts, because I'm not going to get into mine because I've got just too many as far as like if I want to talk about the experiences. But how about favorite character in the movie? And it can be an existing character, like if you're like, oh, I still love Lightning McQueen, or it could be Cruz, Smokey, whoever, or Jackson Storm, whoever it might be. So Jeff, did you have somebody that stood out to you as like a new favorite in Cars 3?
I've only seen it once, so that's a little difficult. I I really liked Cruz a lot. So right now I'd say her.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, because obviously it'll probably change a little bit as you see it a couple more times.
Right.
What about your thoughts, Julie?
Okay, so I really liked Cruz as well, but I freaking love Jackson Storm.
Okay.
I thought that character was awesome. I love the design of him. I just love the way he talked, so arrogant. It just reminded me of Lightning McQueen in the first film, but just like not like with a little edge to him. And I was a little disappointed that and I know it wasn't Jackson Storm's story, but I was a little disappointed that I didn't see enough of Jackson Storm. I just wanted to see maybe a little more. I know it was more of like a Lightning and Cruz story.
Yeah.
But I was left wanting more, which is a good thing. But I freaking love Jackson Storm.
You're gonna be all right.
I think that was a cool character. I liked him.
Yeah, no, he was a really cool character. I loved the heck out of that character too. Yeah. In fact, there was somebody that even commented on the forum. Born from the 90s forum user said, Storm, I totally hate him, but dang, he's a cool looking car.
Yeah.
And you can't deny him that he's such a cool car. RC Cars 5, hello. Jumped on there. Hector Hernandez, Jeremy, we got a lot of people jumping in here.
What about you?
A favorite character? Smokey.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because you came back on your second or third showing when you came back. Yeah,
I was like, I love Smokey. He's just such a cool character, and like, I don't know. And I even told you that like Chris Cooper voicing him, he's not one of my favorite actors. I mean, he's not a bad actor. He's a great actor by any means, by all accounts. But there's just something about him that like in this role, I think he really just nailed it. And then the look of that it was like the Hudson truck. I thought that was really cool as well, that it matched like the Doc Hudson character, and just that it was Doc Hudson's crew chief and like his original trainer, like all the emotional elements tied to it. And we're going to talk about it again. I'm going to go ahead of myself. Like I said, I wasn't going to, but when he shows him the wall of pictures of, Doc and what it meant to him, that he was sending him all these letters, I was just like, all right, this guy's cool.
Okay.
So he was very suave.
Okay. Now, as you were talking, I kind of thought of a couple more characters that I liked.
Oh, we got some people saying Louise Nash out there too. I love it. Lots of storms, lots of cruises.
Yeah. So the other character that I like, when we're not thinking of like the top, like the top like racers and stuff, I'm thinking Thunder Hollow. I'm thinking it's fritter time.
Oh gosh.
I'm thinking those like the Rambulance or RV and look, right. I've got a new hat.
Yeah.
And is it Bill, the Pixar, the Luxo Pixar ball? I just that scene was awesome. I know we'll get into it in a couple minutes.
We're gonna talk about it for sure.
And I really wanted to see the other silly cars more, that they've made all the characters.
The silly cars? Like,
was it Scratch and Dent?
Oh, well, the ones from that scene. Yes, yeah, Hit and Run.
But yeah, Miss Fritter.
Yeah, somebody else said that out here too. They said it was their favorite scene, Miss Fritter. It's Fritter time! It's so awesome.
She's a great character.
Yeah.
Fantastic one.
Yeah.
All right. So Lou?
So let's talk about Lou. So I've been already seeing some comments out here as I've been mentioning Lou. Some people are saying it's their favorite. Other people said they didn't connect with it as much. So I'm really interested to see what everybody thought about Lou. I've seen it a bunch of times now. 4. And again, in many different formats. Again, 2D, 3D, all that kind of stuff. IMAX was by far the best, by the way. It was so
Besides
cool.
at Pixar, you said.
Well, yeah. So IMAX and Pixar. We'll talk about some of those differences when we talk about cars. Well, we'll talk about it a little bit with Lou too. But okay, first impressions, Lou. Don't go too far with it.
I really liked it. I cried.
Okay. And what stood out the most about it?
I was surprised and saddened by the end. I was happy but sad.
Okay. And again, for anybody joining, we're talking spoilers. So if you don't want to know anything about Lou or Cars 3, well, we're going to talk about it.
I was sad even talking about it. I'm getting a little misty. I wanted him back. When I saw the little girl wearing the sweatshirt.
Yeah, say what you said there, because that was funny.
When I saw the little girl wearing the sweatshirt, I was like, no, put it back in the box. What are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't. It was.
I'm
kinda,
like, kids, why you're playing with there's enough balls in the playground. Put them back in the bin.
Yeah, you mean everything was found? But I guess that was the point, is that he helped everybody.
I
find
know, and that's what
everything.
but it made me sad.
Yeah.
Like getting me misty.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
He was such a cool character, and then just the expressions that he did, some of the work that like Albert Lozano did on the development, and Dave Mullins with the direction of it. I know Aaron Hartline animated on it. A whole bunch of people worked on it. Just a fantastic short. I really enjoyed it. I will say my first time through, I spent so much time analyzing it, looking for all the different things. Like I got to talk to Dave Mullins afterwards, and I talked about, like at the beginning of it, they show the tetherball, and it's like Wilson Cat, and that's like an Easter egg for one of the employees that worked on it. But I got to talk to him about it, and I was like, just thinking about all those things. So they starts with that opening tetherball shot, and that's to set up that later on, we know that there's a tetherball there. So that way when Lou hits it and it busts him apart, that we know that it exists. And it's not all of a sudden a tetherball out of nowhere. So I got to look at it all from those elements, and I'll talk about like the dust over his shoulder and all those kind of things. So the second time in 3D, I was like, okay, I'm liking it more again, because I'm just getting past the analyzation of it. And then I got into the third time where I was just like, okay, it's really cute. The second time though, when the little girl hugs JJ after she gives him back the toy,
the pig.
Yeah. That was the first time that I was like, okay, it got me. I got a little misty there. I just didn't know. I didn't know. For some reason, I saw it the first time. I didn't feel it till the second time.
The pig plush kind of reminded me of the Dam Keeper pig. It's probably not related, but it reminded me of the Dam Keeper pig.
Jeff, what was your first thoughts on Lou?
I thought it was such a cute short, and just left me so happy. I mean, I was smiling through the whole thing. I love the character of JJ and how excited he was, and I mean, he was such a naughty little boy.
Yeah.
but I just loved his arc. I loved his arc and how he changed. And like you said, that end when he looks into the box, that was the same feeling I had at the end of Toy Story 3 when Andy looks in the box and sees Woody. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Genius. Nice comparison.
Yeah. So I was all teary-eyed. And at the end, my wife turned and said, "No, you're not crying about that, are you?" I said, no, of course not.
Yeah.
Tell Lynn to take it easy.
Yeah, really. Come on.
Jeremy Gertzema says, loved Lou, very creative and a really interesting but simple story. So Pixar Freak says it would have been interesting if it was about, so Josh would have said it would have been more interesting if it were about cyberbullying rather than actual physical bullying. I think it could, I think it kind of mirrors both.
Sure.
But there's a little bit of an element of like the bullying element in both Lou and with Cars 3, obviously, because Cruz is getting bullied by the guys. She's battling her own inner demons, but like the bullying side of it when Jackson's hitting her against the wall and everything, and it's like standing up to the people. So in one of them, it was like Cruz was standing up to Jackson, becoming her own. Lou was the one that was like teaching the lesson. It wasn't JJ having his own self-realization. So let's talk about a couple things. So there was.
Well, I want to talk about something really quick.
Yes.
So Jeff, I don't know if you heard. TJ didn't really like hear it like I heard it, but so there's no really like words. There's no like sentences said or anything in Lou.
Just hey, and then.
Yeah, but it's just JJ kind of like
here.
kind of making sounds like noises and stuff. But his voice sounded like Arlo or Spot in The Good Dinosaur. It sounded like one of those two actors. Was it Raymond and Jack Bright?
Ochoa and Jack Bright. I think it was someone else. But
I know it probably was, but it sounded similar to that, and it didn't say in the. I didn't notice that it said it in the.
I'm sure it was in the credits. We just didn't notice. Yeah. But yeah, did you notice anything on that, Jeff?
Oh, nope.
Yeah, just the sound of it, like I don't know, it just sounded like one of those two.
Yeah, it definitely could. I mean, I can hear that because he's hey.
No, not the hey. It's just when JJ has the football.
Noises,
he's like, oh.
Yeah, kind of that laughing.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know.
Obviously, the screenshot that you took, everybody was like, "Holy cow, that looks like Spot, like it's Spot's cousin."
Yeah.
Like he's evolved.
Yeah.
because it does kind of look like that. But Easter egg, in case anybody didn't know, we posted it much earlier. I think you had posted it a while back that JJ was actually one of the background classroom characters from Inside Out.
Riley's classroom.
Riley's classroom in Inside Out.
You can see him in the back. If you're looking at the screenshots in the back left.
All right, so let's talk about a couple things from it, though. So as we get going into the short, there's one moment where actually after the kids go right back into we get the football stuck, the kids go back in the classroom, and Lou forms and starts coming out and grabbing everything, pulls the football off the thing,
frisbee,
goes up the
downspout,
the gutter, and then gets the frisbee. The one thing that I didn't notice until the fourth time I saw it was when he pulls that frisbee off. I love the fact that the sunlight was right behind it, and he literally pulls it. There's this glint of sunlight into the camera where it like gives a little bit of a flare and then cuts in like a half a second. But I absolutely loved it. I thought it was such a nice little detail that it was just all these little quick, he's grabbing all these things, and just to have the sunlight behind it was an extra thing. It didn't have to be there.
Right.
Really sold it for me for some reason. Funniest moment for me, there's two. So I want to talk about the moment that you guys thought was that hit you the best. One of them was the thumbs up when JJ's giving the skateboard to the kid with the crutches. He shoves it into him.
I love that part.
He's like going like this, and then he gives the jump rope thumbs up. Thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
And then also when he's sitting and he's like got his legs crossed and he's reading the book, like pretending. And JJ's like, hey, wait a minute. He runs past, like he's like, oh, it's just a guy sitting here reading. That part was the other part that I laughed out loud on the third time when I saw that one. Anything that like stood out for you?
That one too. Yeah.
Okay. Jeff, anything?
The first one. I like that first one with the thumbs up. And just like I said, I just had a smile on my face through so much of it.
Yeah, I
really
did too.
Enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah, I did too. I kind of sat there just like smiling until like the end, and I was like, "Wait a second, what's going on?"
Yeah, what's going on here?
When I realized what like JJ was doing, I'm like, "Wait a second."
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't think these kids all lost all this stuff in this past recess time, JJ. Stop giving gifts.
Yeah, I was wondering how it was going to end. I just kind of saw, oh, this is not going to be a happy ending for me.
So the other thing that I noticed when I was talking, when I saw it at first at Pixar, and I saw it the best there. So this is where it talks about like the different ways that I saw the film. So when JJ at the end of it looks into his toy box and he leans all the way over, he sees his plush dog in there. There's the sunlight very lightly, and over his shoulder, it's over his left shoulder, is some dust particles that are floating in the air. And I remember I talked to Dave about that, and Dave was like, yes, you noticed the dust. He goes, I had to fight for that dust. And what's funny is, and here's the value of a really good theater. And if you can see it in IMAX, because Pixar, the screen is unreal. The clarity, the color, the sharpness, it's unlike any other theater I've seen. And then the sound is unreal as well. Because obviously that's where they're showing their movies. They have to have it be really, really good. So we saw it in 3D. You didn't really see the dust so much because of the glasses and the dimming of the light. And they're really, minimal back there. We saw it in 2D the next morning. The next morning. And it was the color balance was so dark, couldn't see it at all. And I was looking for it. Saw it in IMAX that evening again. And holy cow, it was there and it looked fantastic. It still was maybe that much like less clear than the Pixar theater, but if you can see it in IMAX, Lou and Cars 3 is literally like a whole new movie. So if you need to go back and see it again in theaters, if you have the ability to see it in an IMAX, whether it be a full IMAX or like the pseudo the scaled down IMAX, you absolutely have to do it. The clarity is amazing. When they have close-ups of his face, he's got this big smile. Around the edges of that sweatshirt, you can see the fuzzes, the fibers, and you didn't see as much of that detail in the 3D or the standard 2D that I saw. And it's just so insanely crisp. It added so much to it for me. So,
And I love the sound at least the IMAX theaters when I've seen movies, the sound seems to be so much fuller. So did you get that same experience?
yes. So there's a couple
Yeah.
moments that I'll bring that up. One is,
It's funny you mentioned that, Jeff, because that is one of the things when he came home that night after seeing it in IMAX, he specifically talked about the sound in Lou specifically.
Okay.
Yeah, so even during the end, well, so first off, when they're getting chased around and they're all the different like boom, 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 and then all the spring noises, those are all over the place in the theater.
Oh, that'd be cool.
It was super cool. And then the end credits, when it's a lot of the xylophones, Dave Mullins talked about as well that he had that Christoph Beck had all that all recorded with like, I don't even remember how many musicians it was, but they all had, it sounds like it's one musician playing this like, whatever that song is.
Yeah.
But they planned it out so that way it would sound more in surround sound by actually having each musician one at a time hit one note and like literally get their timing right. So it was like, but it was going around and around in like this big like circle. It was so cool.
So cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like a really nice touch. And you could feel that more for sure in Pixar and then also at IMAX.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Very
Absolutely. Cool. Yeah. Anything else on Lou that you guys want to chat about?
No, I mean, I can't wait to see it again.
Yeah, I definitely have to see it again.
Yeah, I'm going to see it again. We're going in IMAX.
Yeah, we're going to go. We have to do a date night.
Yes.
We got to get a babysitter.
Right.
Watch it again.
All right, so let's talk about some Cars 3 because that's another thing we want to make sure we get to in our time here. So Cars 3, we already talked about our overall ratings. We kind of fell in between like that 8.5 to 9-ish, 8 to 9 range.
I'm going to kick it off.
Okay, well, we got one quick question. So somebody's asking, Yami on Ice, why is Cars 3 available in Argentina starting on July 13th? First off, in case you don't want to know any spoilers, we're going to be talking about them now. It's not any problems with the movie distribution. They plan it in different countries at different times. It helps with the press junkets, with the vocal cast, and then the Brian Fee, the director, and the producers will all go with him, and they go from country to country to do the junkets and give them time and breaks and all those other things.
Yeah.
Spreads out revenue too.
And in fact, Coco, which is right back there, will actually be released down in Mexico and South America before it has the
3.5 weeks before it's released in the United States.
Yeah, it'll be the first time that the international release is
ahead of the US
domestic,
release,
the
right?
US domestic.
And that's obviously tied because we don't want to go into too much with Coco right now, but it'll be tied because of the fact that the Day of the Dead holiday kicks off right after that.
Yeah.
So it works out, but
it's like just tiered.
Right. Yeah. So they kind of tier it for a lot of different things. Marketing, I'm probably sure it helps with rather than all at once.
Spread that out a little bit and keep the hype going for longer periods of time.
Yeah. Sounds like Israel's got to go. We'll see you later. But we are going to talk about some Easter eggs for Cars 3. But let's just talk opening shot. We go right back. Oh, you wanted to kick it off. Sorry.
That's good. Yeah, I wanted to kick it off.
Go for it.
The music in that opening race scene.
Okay.
Not the opening race scene in Lightning McQueen's fateful racing scene.
Oh, so now right in the crash.
Yeah.
Okay, so the score from Randy Newman, not the Dan Auerbach.
No, not
the
run.
To make fun of me for singing.
Yeah.
Okay, so Randy Newman's score. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
I love, and I can't remember the title. We were just listening to it too.
Yeah, here, I'll pull it up while you're talking about it.
Yeah, but that song that goes with when Lightning McQueen's starting to, he's fading, and he's shaking. He's got these like little just tremor shakes, and you're just like, oh no.
Yep,
man.
It's called When All Your Friends Are Gone / Crash.
Yes, I love that. That is my favorite song in the entire film. Besides the Thunder Hollow, because that's a scene in itself. I need some Cars tunes with some Thunder Hollow in it.
There you go.
You're right. Yeah, we definitely need more of that. Yeah. We're gonna get there. Okay. We're gonna get there. So yeah, that scene and that score, Randy's score is great. We'll talk about that real quick. So Randy's score, that song, also the Fireball Beach song, really stood out to me. The two Brad Paisley tracks, which I gushed about on our podcast, and I knew I was gonna love. I totally did love. And I remember in the podcast we also talked about, did I see that as the temp when I saw the screening at Pixar, it was definitely not his music. It was temp music in there, and it totally enhanced the scene to have Brad's music there from what I originally saw, because I would have known his style for sure. But in between Brad's two songs, Randy Newman does another song in there, and it's also a fantastic song. Really liked that one as well. So those are the ones that really stood out for me. What did you think about the soundtrack, Jeff?
I really enjoyed it. It's I downloaded it just a couple of days ago. I wanted to wait till after I'd seen the movie. So I've only listened to it once now, and I really enjoy it. That crash scene and the music there, that was one that is so recognizable. You know, when I was listening to the soundtrack, and only seeing the movie once though, but that is so you can just so distinguishable. And there were a couple of other ones. I think maybe when he's later in the movie that are memorable to me. And of course, Thunder Hollow is just a crazy, crazy song.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now there was one scene that the music didn't fit for me.
Oh yes, we did talk about
and we talked about this. And it was the scene where Sterling or Lightning McQueen is in Sterling's office, and Sterling's talking about kind of like having him retire, and Lightning's like, no, I want to decide when I go, let me do the race, the Florida 500. The music in there just seemed off. Yes. It just didn't, I don't know. It was distracting.
Yeah. So I wrote that down, and I said same thing. When Lightning is bargaining with Sterling after looking at the products, the music is too bouncy and light, and it's too heavy at the start. So it starts out pretty heavy, but then it gets too bouncy and light. So McQueen's like, it has that comeback story that you like, and he's saying that. I felt like it was a little too like light, bouncy, cartoony, more so than like, let's rally behind McQueen and push it forward. I just felt like there was something in that one that was agreed. I wrote it down that it was distracting. And
you'll have to see it again and then let us know.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
What I really liked about it were the callbacks to the original film.
Yes, he definitely did some great work as far as like tying in Lightning's theme into Cruz's theme a little bit as he transitioned the torch to her. And then as Lightning was racing again, like the callbacks there where you're just like, I feel like Cars won.
Yeah, loved it.
Yeah, so he did a great job there.
And I will have to give TJ credit. In one of the scenes, in some of the concept art we saw of Radiator Springs, TJ's like, okay, I think this is snow. And I was like, no,
so after the crash, it goes to, it was you. It was Jonathan Carlin, so from Super Carlin Brothers, Jay Carlin. And I don't think you were on that one, Jeff, or were you?
I don't think so.
Okay, so we were looking at that, breaking down one of the trailers, and I'm like, that's totally
I don't know.
snow.
I don't know. Dan might have been on there too, but I was like, no, it's not. And it is. It was.
Yeah, that totally caught me surprised. I did not, expect that at all. When you saw it, it was so cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and Bill Cohn talked about that in the Art of Cars book, that in the journey that he took, or with Jay Schuster, and it was also Bob Pauly.
A research trip.
Yeah, they talked about in the research trip that there was all of a sudden this like surprise snow in the mountains of like Atlanta, and they wanted to kind of get that to transfer into the Radiator Springs and make it seem like it's not just always sunny summer there, like it has different seasons too. So that was inspired by their real travels. So that was kind of neat. Okay, so actually I'm going to bounce backwards a little bit, but I'm going to talk one more quick thing on the IMAX experience, just because I have to, because it stood out so much. So we have the opening shots. We know, like, we got the speed, I am speed. We get the great jokes with Mater. He's there to supplement, get some good humor in. Then he backs out. Lightning gets doing his racing. Everything's going well. All of a sudden, within minutes, and doesn't it feel just so good to see Lightning just kicking butt and just like winning these races and having a ton of fun with his friends.
Having fun. That's what I was going to say. Having fun. They're all just getting along and enjoying each other. Yeah.
Yeah, the gags. They're all like, I love like the blowing up the tires.
Yeah.
Yep.
Guido.
Yeah.
And then like, the little balloons come out of the back too. Like, it's just so cool. I love it. I love it. So now we've got Jackson Storm. He wins. He comes off after Bobby Swift tells him that's Jackson Storm. And we get the scene where he's like, did you say meet or beat? And the part where the paparazzi, where he says, let's take a picture. I've admired him for years. And the cameras are, as the camera's swooping around, you can actually hear that in the surround sound and IMAX. And it's from the back of the theater going all the way to the front when it's like centered on them. It was so cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So cool. So I wrote down lots of stuff as far as like great shots there at the beginning with the tire marbles being pulled along from the top views, very reminiscent of the first film, makes you feel right at home. And that's what you want to kind of start something off.
Definitely.
We get to the crash scene. We're not going to really break it down all that much because we've seen it in a bunch of the trailers, but you had a comment on it that like right away.
Right away. So we see the crash scene where he's, just terribly battered and, damaged and stuff. And like you noticed like the back end of him, like his wheels out like this. I noticed that his like the front, like the top of his, where his head, like his eyes are
like flattened
out. And I was like, oh gosh, like that's like awful to see, lightning like that. But then it comes to an aerial shot of, the Radiator Springs gang coming in, the Pitties stopping them, and the ambulance is coming in. I wanted like 2 or 3 more beats of the aerial shot. I felt like that was not long enough for me to see like the scene,
the intensity,
of the scene.
Of it, right.
Yeah, before it goes like, 4 months later kind of thing. I just wanted, because it's going up, I just wanted, excuse me, like 2, 3, 4, gone. I just wanted
it would feel a lot heavier.
Like maybe just 2 more beats that I would have liked to have held there.
What did you think anything about that at all, Jeff?
Not of that particularly, but that crash scene, we in the trailer, you always saw kind of the beginning of it, but to see the entire crash scene, that was intense. I mean, that was, it was just really intense. And
yeah, with like no music and just like metal.
Just the metal. Yeah, the metal, the sparks, the scraping.
Oh gosh,
all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, it is like I remember the first time I saw the preview, it was hard. The first time I saw that full scene, it was very hard. You're just like, oh my gosh. I actually thought a lot about what you said as far as holding it longer. I wonder if they tested that, and I wonder if they couldn't because they talked about when I was there that a lot of kids were writing in and talking and saying, did you kill Lightning McQueen?
Yeah. And
it made me really wonder, like, did they have to shorten it because it was too intense?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah.
It could.
Yeah.
But yeah, after you said it, I agreed with you 100%. I was like, I could have, to feel the gravitas of it and how serious it was, I could have sat in that for a couple more seconds. But other people commented on it too in the forum. I think it was, again, Born from the 90s, that they said, I was happy to see the movie decided to slow down after that and go back to Radiator Springs. It was a good thing after such a major thing to all of a sudden feel that home feel again.
Well, then, and they showed lightning right away.
Mm-hmm. Well, they cut to like a couple of people,
but I mean,
Luigi quietly sorting tires.
It was
like
within
nothing going on in the town. Yeah,
within a minute, you see Lightning McQueen again.
And I did think it was funny that they had to put I'm assuming they had to put his 95 on him so people would understand who he is. Because realistically, would he have his number already on if he was like just in primer?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And somebody said, how did the crash sound in IMAX? Okay, yes, cool. Angry Birds team, yes. It was fantastic as well. I hate to say it's fantastic, but audibly it was fantastic. The scraping, the hitting, it definitely, like, when he would hit the wall and scrape, it was coming up the side of the theater. It made it tougher for sure. And that slow motion scene of him coming over with like you've got like tinnitus, like ringing in your ears going, like it was definitely intense.
Yeah, and
very, very loud. Somebody else said.
And I saw someone say, did you know that there was a triple dent racer? Yes. And there's also the Apple car
Yes. Yeah,
Awesome.
I'm glad to see that the Apple car made it back in the standard and the next gen.
Yes.
And I wrote that down as well because you can see in the pits, you get to, it's essentially Jackson Storm, Lightning McQueen, Rev and Go, and then the Apple car is right beyond that. And in a couple scenes, you can see the Apple logo, and you get to see the crew chief. You barely see the racer, though. But we just wanted to see that one.
Yeah, because it's like an Easter egg.
Yeah.
Not
It
really supposed
is.
to be able to see them.
Yeah.
That's why in Cars 1, you have to like pause it, and it's still like a blurry white
Right.
like cloud.
That's true. So I guess kind of like out of Radiator Springs, you know, the one thing is he gets convinced pretty quickly. I mean, I know it's been 4 months and Sally's giving him his space. But I just thought like all of a sudden she comes in, he's really still down and depressed. And if you're in a funk for 4 months, it's going to be hard to kind of like all of a sudden just be like, all right, I'll race.
Mhm.
I mean, obviously they can't really dig into that too
carry
much.
the story.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, unless you really you want to slow it down and then it becomes that type of film. But I'm sure they probably did stuff like that where he was probably sulking longer and different things like that. But so I was surprised. A lot of people have commented in the forum that they were happy to see more Sally involvement. And I was actually kind of shocked when he gets in. He's going to go off to the Rusty's Racing Center, and after he talks to Rusty and Dusty, that he says, you know, I love you, or she says, I love you, and he says, she says, I love you more back, or back right first, right? You know what I'm saying?
You. Yeah.
Yeah, I love you and I love you more. That was I thought that was really cool to see how their relationship has also progressed.
Right.
That was like a nice little touch.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you think about it, we talked about this. How many times have we heard a relationship, I love you, in a Pixar film?
Right, like you talked about it with, like, as we were thinking about it through, and anybody, if you think about this in the... it
was said in Brave, but that was Merida to Eleanor.
Yeah, I was thinking about it from not just a mother-son or father-son, or mother-daughter, father-son type thing.
And
Nemo says, I love you at the end. But I was like, from a relationship character standpoint, Ratatouille, Linguini says, you know, I love your cooking. Like,
I think that's as close as we've ever...
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's been another direct I love you that wasn't family-based, like an actual relationship that's formed.
Incredibles?
Incredibles? Yeah, I was just going to say Incredibles.
I don't know. I'd have to watch it again.
It's implied in Wall-E.
Right.
Yeah.
But anyways, I just thought that was a cool little thing. Anything else from the Radiator Springs standpoint with Rusty, Dusty, anything like that?
No, I think now we move to the racing center.
Yeah, and more Rusty Dusty there.
Yes. So it was great. It was great hearing them. I did, just like when Paul Newman's voice comes up, I got a little misty with my Click and Clack brothers.
Mm-hmm.
My dad and I listened to them, and we were fans of them. If anybody wants to know, I talked about it in the comment on the post. The Parlez-vous Français is my favorite actual like car talk skit that they have. It's a one where, and it's a real thing. So you can look it up. It's called Foreign Accent Syndrome.
So that's why he did it? That's
what? Oh, they don't do that in the movie.
No, I thought he said Parlez-vous Français in the film.
Oh, they do?
I could have sworn he said it.
I don't remember if they do. If somebody remembers that, let us know. I don't remember.
I could have sworn. Maybe I'm having some weird deja vu right now, but I could have sworn. I could have sworn he said it right before they were leaving through the paparazzi.
There was a couple of things that got said there that I missed. So maybe that's why I missed it, because I wasn't expecting.
Right.
Yeah. And that's when you had to walk out with our son for like 10 minutes.
Right. On my third showing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this foreign accent syndrome, you can get into an accident in a car, something can get knocked loose in your head, and the guy legitimately started speaking with a French accent.
Oh yeah,
he was English American prior to that. So it's hilarious, the skit of the two of them, Tom and Ray Magliosi, talking about this experience of like, he gets out of the car, what are you doing, you stupid fool? You know, so you must listen to it. So anyways, I'll stop talking about Tom and Ray, because I could keep talking about them for a while because I love them. So yeah, so the send off, Rusty Dusty. Other people are saying it was sad to see them go. I didn't really want to see them go. Obviously, I kind of get it. They got it again. It's moving the story forward.
What I liked is the kind of callback to them when they were kind of on the beach vacationing, seeing what you want to see when people are retiring. But I like that they were together.
Yeah.
So that I enjoyed that. So now I'm like, okay, they're good. I feel satisfied with where those guys
That's true.
have gone.
But I was sad too. I was a little misty-eyed when they were saying goodbye and stuff. So
yeah,
I enjoyed that scene a lot.
Yeah, because he stuck with them, through all his trials and tribulations, and he realized at the end the value of that. So
now, who I kind of wanted to see was Fred, and I wonder if I wonder if Fred is somewhere in the audience, because we saw, was it Big Al, Lightning's biggest fan?
Yep.
We saw a couple of the other guys that were there before. But I wanted to kind of see Fred somewhere, just like Lightning.
He's probably just a dust pile of rust.
I know, but I just kind of wanted to see him.
You're right. That would have been a fun one to see. But I bet he's somewhere in there. You're right.
Yeah,
he's got to be in the background somewhere. I'll jump ahead. Yeah, where did Fred go? So he said, "Do you think there'll be a Cars 4?"
I mean, it
could.
It definitely could. It could follow Cruz's story now, and Lightning's got a new role.
A new role, right?
Yeah.
Certainly could.
Okay, so let's talk about Cruz in the racing center.
Okay, so they go in the racing center. The first thing I'm going to talk about there is from a visual standpoint. When you've got the cars coming in, the lighting in there is so immensely gorgeous. And it's just supposed to be like a natural light, like a blanket of light across everything. But what I said to you when I got home, especially after I saw it in IMAX, because it was just so awesome, is I said, this is the closest that the cars look in that moment to when we actually saw that real life Lightning McQueen
at the Detroit
Auto Show. It was like, to me, I was like, that's the same lighting.
Yeah.
Like, it's so cool.
Wow.
Yeah, it was kind of like that overhead lighting where there's shadows on two sides.
Yeah, it wraps around on all angles.
It's just, so you get like double shadow, like one's darker than the, so that was really cool.
So they start walking through the show floor again. In the back right, there's like, you can hear real softly putting on the tires with the torque wrenches and everything. That's also where I think it might be the first spot that we come across one of our Easter eggs, where after you meet Cruz Ramirez, you've got Ronald, who's the first of the next gen racers, who's the Fluffy Cloud. And then you've got Kurt, who does the bugs, and he's number 12. And then, I could not understand, and I meant to check the vocal list as far as to see like who voiced the characters, because I was going to see who voiced Ronald, Kurt, and it sounded like Gabu. I couldn't understand what Cruz said at that moment for the guy that was number 49, and he says
homesick.
He was homesick, so they show him Santa Cecilia, which is clearly Coco's hometown.
But we know there's 2 Easter eggs for Coco.
Yes. Oh, Gabriel. Oh, RC Cars Fest is Gabriel. Why did I hear Gabu?
Because you.
Hey, I was writing at the same time. I mean, that's a lot that you got to write while you're in a dark theater. All right.
Please.
Please. So somebody did talk about the fact that so Brian Fee mentioned in I'm forgetting which source it was. Another art. It wasn't.
Screen Rant?
Screen Rant. I think it might have been Screen Rant, that he talks about that there's another, more than one Coco. Somebody had said on another site that it was on one of the screens in the training center, and then the Sweet Tea's band, one of the bandmates, they said had his guitar. I didn't recognize that. Did anybody else see that at all? As far as like if it was either on the screen in the training center or one of the bandmates of Sweet Tea's band, which was the band that was in the cotter pin. I don't know. I didn't see that one, but so we're there. We got A113, Sterling's office, another Easter egg. That one was very obvious. I mean, they held that on the screen for quite some time.
It was kind of like MU. Oh, like my shirt.
Yeah, pink.
That one was obvious when Sully came in to.
Yes, he slams open the door into the auditorium in the class there. Yep. So what about Rusty's Racing Center? Anything else that we want to talk about in there? If not, we'll go to Fireball Beach.
Yes.
Okay, so we talked about the music that we thought was a little bit off there on that particular one. Fireball Beach. What were your thoughts on that scene, Jeff?
Oh man, I love that scene. I I really got mesmerized by the water and watching the waves crash on the shore.
Yes.
They are so beautiful. Holy moly. And I love the beach. So I really enjoyed that and watching Cruz and all of her issues that she had on the beach. It was a great scene.
Yeah. I mean, it was. They had that. There was a couple spots in it that I said that there was an overhead one where you can see them, both Cruz and Lightning, go flying by, and it was at an angle, and then you've got the waves coming in. It was a gorgeous scene. I mean, and they had all sorts of different mixed lighting in there as the sun was going down and hitting that golden hour.
That's a scene that I really need to watch again.
Yeah. So obviously the simulator she brought, that portable simulator, that's an Easter egg that it has the Mac startup sound.
Yep.
Boom. Yeah. Blassendy saying I found all the Easter eggs. They were saying that it was actually part of, it was Rusty the guitar. So we'll have to see about that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the beach scene, fantastic. I thought it was hilarious with all the little Krabbies have gone tonight. I know everybody laughed the most in the theater at The Beach Ate Me.
Yeah.
But I laughed with all the Krabbies have gone night-night.
Yeah. Little crab.
Yeah.
Now, have you guys heard this? Like, so people are talking about Easter eggs, and people are saying like the little Krabbies are a callback to Finding Dory or Finding Nemo, two crabs.
With Bill and Carol?
Well, and the two crabs that tried to get Nemo when he got out of the tunnel at the very end, the pipe at the end when he escaped the dentist. I do not think.
Yeah, that's a stretch, at least for me.
Yeah, for me too.
Yeah, I don't quite see it.
Yeah. I've read it on a couple different sites, and I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cracking me up. People are talking about all those lines, The Beach Ate Me, and all the Krabbies have gone night-night. Just fantastic. So that scene gets done. We have the part where Lightning is reaching his breaking point. He still isn't broken yet, but he's getting frustrated more and more with Cruz. But it's already starting to get to that point where it's like Cruz doesn't understand. We're getting the first glimpses that she's trainable and coachable, even though she's a trainer. She's
successing. Like she's
succeeding.
Yeah,
successing. She's successing. That's like your business book. You could be like the lady with like the business suit leaning against the wall.
Successing. I am. We can do anything.
There you go.
I can success.
I can successing. Perfect. So they leave Thunderball Beach. We've got, actually, I thought it was kind of cool that there's a little under the Thunder Hollow sign. I love that there's like the bullet holes through it.
Yeah, I didn't notice that. That's cool, when you guys were coming back.
Cool little details. And then there was a sign that said Crab Sanctuary. So I thought it really just tied in that there was crabs on the beach. There's a little crab sanctuary off to the side. And then, so we're going to Thunder Hollow. Mac has his Master of Disguise.
And there's a lot of little callbacks on the billboards, like the Pixar's. What am I thinking of? The date.
Oh, you're thinking about when he's already back in his
the founding date and stuff like that. The Easter eggs that are hidden.
Oh, I guess I didn't know these. What are these that you're telling me
about? I think I did a post on it before.
You did?
Well, maybe I think I talked about it somewhere.
Oh.
I did something.
All right. We'll have to look at that one. But yes, Pixar Jedi, Josh is getting ahead of us. That's not Josh. Pixar Jedi getting Choco Flacco. So there was a race car driver that had a monkey that used to, an actual NASCAR driver back in the day. Well, it wasn't NASCAR at that time. It was just, maybe it was NASCAR. But he had a monkey that drove in the car with him, and that was Jocko Flacco the monkey. So that's how Jocko Flacco came up. Interestingly enough, I knew about Jocko Flacco before I got schooled by Jay Ward at Pixar, because on American Pickers, that television show which I love on the History Channel, they did a whole thing where they talked about Jocko Flacco. There was like a whole little episode where they did a NASCAR pick for Ryan Newman. I think it's one of the drivers. So we had that as an Easter egg. Just a thing that I wrote down, the Thunder Hollow guy that comes to greet them, his name's Roscoe. So the scene starts. We've got McQueen getting all muddy. He goes into the race. It's a secret race, that he wants to be private. And then I thought it was really cool once they actually get going. The music awesome. Again, the Brad Paisley song, just fantastic when it's going there. I thought it was cool that one of the police officer, like the police car that comes out, says we're here to protect and swerve.
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody uses the Waze app, which is like that, I know Jeff, you do, right?
Yeah.
Yep. I see you on there.
Yeah.
You have a
a
crown.
couple of times.
Yeah.
Yep. So if you use Jackson Storm as the car or voice, and you see a police officer, he's like, police officers, I love those guys. They're always there to protect and swerve. So I thought it was kind of cool that same kind of like phrasing and line was pulled over into the app.
See, I thought it just reminded me of the Cars tune that was
The one that was going to come out?
canceled.
Mm-hmm.
Called To Protect and Serve.
Right. Well, that's like essentially
it's their saying.
That's
so
the police
it's not,
slogans, right. But I thought it was cool that they're in a demolition derby and it's swerve instead of serve.
Yeah.
Because they're not serving anybody in there.
Yeah.
They're just getting crashed up. All right. So the scene, though, let's just talk about it.
Yeah.
People have already been mentioning it here. We've got the Pizza Planet truck that appears in there. The rocket goes flying off. Another car throws it up. We've got the Luxo Ball car. His name's Bill. It says 86 on the hood of his car. I can't believe that people weren't talking about that one way before. It was actually in a teaser. And I totally just did not say one word about it.
Yeah.
But
we almost did like an Easter egg post, but we're like, we gotta wait.
Yeah, gotta wait. Mrs. Fritter has Park Avenue and Cutting Boulevard street signs on her, which is the Pixar locations. Depends on which version. Some of the concept art has Cutting. Some of the products have Cutting.
Some of them have Park.
Some of them have Park Avenue. So it's kind of a cool, like either location that they were from. But the scene in general, let's just talk about the scene, because when I saw it, I said that is like literally a dream scene for me. Mm-hmm. I think of myself as a kid, cars crashing, mud, dark,
fire,
loud noises, bangs. And when the announcer's like, boom, and then the tire blows, I was like, I love it. Like, I was just losing my mind. I loved it so much. It was such an exciting scene. But I'll throw it out there because
it was joyous. Like, it wasn't scary.
Yeah. It certainly
silly.
wasn't. It was a ton of fun.
Yeah.
But I'll throw it out there because there are some differing opinions on it. And my cousin, and I don't want to say this, but my cousin thought it was like a cut scene, that it was like an extra thing that was just a filler and kind of a waste. And I'm like, are you crazy? Like,
yeah.
So I've heard a couple people say they didn't love it as much as others, but for the most part, I've heard everybody say how much they absolutely love it.
Yeah.
So what did you think about it, Jeff?
I liked it a lot. I don't know if I'd say, I loved it. I mean, I liked it a lot. I thought it was a great scene. And like you said, there's just so much excitement and action going on, and with the fire and the tires blowing up.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's just crazy. So
yeah, I love the
really fun scene.
I love all the details of like how like the lights all start in the middle and then they go like individual spotlights to make a figure eight. And then when like seriously, like when everything would explode and the tire stacks go like that, the cameras shake. The angles that like the team and Brian Fee were using in there was just like, oh my God, like I loved everything about it.
Right.
That must have been just a nightmare scene to track. And with all the mud, I mean, I know the mud was just a super big technical challenge, but then with all the splattering, and how do you track that on the vehicles? And oh my gosh, what a nightmare scene that must have been for them to work on.
Yeah, having to keep the continuity from scene to scene as characters move, as they crash into each other. What happens to the mud on the car?
And with all that fire and
it was
incredible.
reflection.
Yeah, I mean that scene was front to back. One of my favorites there. So I already mentioned the camera angles. So the Rambulance. Let's talk about the Rambulance for a minute. I love the fact that he goes like wee wee every time he drives by the screen. He's just doing that
he's
noise
doing it himself
with his mouth. Yeah, I love it. And then the last thing that I'll mention in it was I like the gutsiness of this move from a direction standpoint. So you had the moment where Cruz Ramirez is in the front of the camera. She's front left of the screen. And typically she had a spotlight on her. Typically, if you're talking about a bright light on a yellow car, you're going to put that in focus in the front of the screen. But I love the fact that it was just on Mrs. Fritter, way in the back. And she was in focus, and the lights are tracking her, but yet you could still see Cruz in the front. I just thought that was such a cool call because it's not what you'd expect.
No.
And I would even expect it to, when it first cut to that scene, to be focused on Cruz and then rack focus back to Miss Fritter, but it did not. It stayed that from the whole time that scene cut, it was always on Miss Fritter. I thought that was such a cool move. Yeah. And then just the cool shots of when her like stop sign is spinning and it's got the thing to make the sparks and they're going under it, like with the camera. I mean, that scene was so awesome and so well thought out. I could watch it again and again. You talked about it, about like, that you want like shorts out of that.
Yeah.
I want more Miss Fritter. I would love to see a short about Miss Fritter. I mean, it would be like super easy to do, and it'd be super easy to do, right? So
much fun with a scene like that.
I mean, as far as like
let's
ideas,
just do that mud again. Let's get all that simulation. It's pretty cheap, right?
Yeah, I mean, no problem.
So easy.
We'll just whip that out this weekend.
Are you two done?
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
That's awesome. You're right. I meant just easy from the story standpoint. Like as far as like...
Why don't we make it rain too?
Okay.
Let's add some more elements.
Oh, man. So now we leave Thunder Hollow. People are saying how much the animation in there was absolutely awesome. Yes, the mud was the hardest thing to animate for sure. Turn right to go left. That's the first time that Cruz is getting that education, so more training, even though they're in there. Mm-hmm. So now the other thing that I kind of noticed is now we're off on the road. She's excited she won her trophy. He's like just scowling at her, like, ugh. Just stop talking, and she's just gushing, just so excited that she won this. Francis Beltline, that's me. So she says, pull over, gets out of the truck, backs out. I thought this was genius too. They use Mac. He unhitches, turns his car around, and turns his cab around, and the headlights on Mac, because now they're in the middle of the woods, there would be no light out there. They use his lights to put the light on her, as if he's just looking and listening, but it's really a great excuse to light the scene.
Later, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was such a cool thing. So they use his lights to dramatically light the scene.
Yeah.
And then they've got a little bit obviously coming out of his cab as well. And you can see Luigi and Guido with their pupils all huge, like, all sad and everything coming up to the front.
And I didn't like that he was kind of like, not a jerk, but a jerk. Like he was kind of being like McQueen from Cars 1.
Yeah. But I think I understand it because
I get it. But I was like, oh,
the
man.
weight of everything he's feeling is like, I only have one chance and you don't get it.
Don't minimize my chance. Yeah,
you don't get it. You have your whole life ahead of you. This is potentially the end of my life. So as much as
career.
Career. But I mean, he views it as his life because racing is his life. As much as like I didn't like it either to see him get like that, I get it. I feel like that was a real life moment. But then it also sets up perfectly her breakdown moment where it's like, hey, you know what? I didn't want to be a trainer. I wanted to be this, a race car driver as well. I thought that was a cool scene for a lot of reasons. Obviously I mentioned the lighting, but just for the emotional elements of it as well. And when I saw that one at Pixar, I didn't know how that one was going to go. Because that was different cuts. I didn't see all the same cuts that were in the final version.
And you saw raw animation without lighting.
The raw animation had no lighting in that. So that's why I was so surprised when I saw Mac's headlights as lighting the scene. So that was just the raw animation. It was very weird seeing like the trees in the background, just like gray blobs.
Yeah.
So that was a nice surprise at the end there. Anything stand out there, Jeff? Anything that stand out?
Like what you said, I thought it was a really powerful and emotional scene that really, sets up kind of the rest of the movie. And I enjoyed that scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so now we've got the part where they have essentially split off. Lightning is in his trailer by himself. Mac pulls under an overpass, and Lego Boy 1214 Studios says Sleepwell Motel. Yes, we saw that there was a billboard for Sleepwell Motel from Toy Story of Terror. that was up there. And then when they come into the cab and Lightning's, flipping through different channels, there was the very first one. I don't remember what it was. There was the atomic wrench. There was one that was a throwback to Cars 2, which was the John Lasseter car, not Lasseter, but the Citroen car that was based on John Lasseter and his wife Nancy that were kissing on the bridge and said like trouble sleeping. So I thought that was like a cool ad, but I think there was one more in there that I was looking down and writing and I couldn't remember what it was. So if anybody remembers what that was, let me know. And the billboard, I didn't know if this was an Easter egg or not, but the billboard that said Sleepo Motel was Luxco was the company that set up the billboard. So I felt like it was kind of like Luxo, but Luxco.
Yeah.
So what else do we have here?
Now we meet Smokey.
Okay, so
so
he goes and gets Cruz back. They go to meet Smokey. What was your thought, Jeff, of when they first come across Smokey and he just appears on the track?
Oh, I don't know if I remember. I don't have anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have nothing.
Yeah,
I have nothing.
I got nothing. They sound like Mater. You know what I do?
Yes.
I got nothing.
I got nothing.
Yeah, so I just thought I was like, this is a cool introduction. I know a lot of people said they were kind of surprised that he just like showed up on the track, but that's kind of like those sports movies that all of a sudden like the legend just shows up and he's there. And then he zooms up to him, he right there. And then the train, he takes him around. I know why you're here. You think it's going to be something serious. And he says, because you're thirsty. They go to the Cotterpin bar. They get to meet the other legends in that bar. Again, I'm going to 3 in a row. I'm going to just geek out for a second on the lighting. Holy cow. The lighting in that bar scene was fantastic. Between all the neon lights and then like the smokiness of the bar, the band playing, everything worked for me in there. And I like that was another moment that kind of slowed it down too. And you get to learn more about the Doc past. You get to see his scene of the flip and everything. What do you think about that scene, Jeff? With Doc's flip and how he never touched a wall unless he wanted to.
Yeah, it was just awesome. Yeah, I mean, I didn't see that coming, and I just really Somebody wrote in the comments too with the Cruise line, "He's not dead."
Yeah.
Like that was funny. He's alive.
Yes.
He is alive. Something like that. What did you think about that whole the dock scene? The dock scene.
Yeah. Oh, the dock scene. It was surprising. Like to see a car move that way because you don't think of them being athletes,
right?
Because it's almost like an athletic move.
But that's what the Lightning did in the first one, where he bounces off the tires and gives Mia and Tia.
It's different.
But Doc has a much more, if I remember right, a more serious look on his face, where in that one with Lightning, he's kind of more having fun and his tongue's hanging out. And
Lightning seems more agile, but Doc seems like, an old car, like a brick.
Yeah. But his suspension is so much softer too, but he's super low to the ground.
But the way Lightning moves is like this, and Doc, Doc does kind of move but not as much. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. Like when he does the flip, it goes to slow motion. I told you the exact second that they cut it to slow motion from regular speed, I thought was the perfect moment. Too soon, it would have been too long.
You did mention that.
And afterwards, it would have been too quick. So I thought that was, cool too. That just that perfect. They cut it right here, goes to slow mo, and then goes right back to the speed.
So let's get to the final race.
Okay. What about the training?
Well, okay.
Okay, so
we've just been talking a long time.
You're right. We'll pick up the pace here.
Yeah.
We're getting to this point in the film where we're getting close to the final race. They do the midnight drive. That was cool. The wrap tearing off.
Oh, yeah.
That was one thing that we said. I didn't really know that I liked the symbolism of it, but the way that it was tearing off, it looked too light to me. Those are pretty thick wraps. I felt like it looked a little too flaky.
Too papery or something.
Yeah, papery. That's a good way to say it.
Yeah, I didn't mind so much it being torn off and stuff like that. I didn't, and I'm sure they, it's just symbolic, but I didn't like how the 95 was perfectly cut. Around, I kind of wanted
number 95.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to be a little torn or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I know it's like symbolic because he's like getting.
Yeah, he's shedding.
He's shedding that.
He's going back to what he should be and not trying to be someone else.
Right.
Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to talk about in that particular scene too, just real quick, was the music when they're doing like the training and it's the tractors.
Mm-hmm.
Randy Newman must have like absolutely channeled his inner Toy Story, because that part to me, that music, that like I was like, this is Toy Story. Like, did that stand out at all to you, Jeff?
Yeah, there were at least a couple of times where I felt that this sounds, a lot like a Toy Story theme.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he touched on both between Cars and Toy Story,
Yeah.
but there was definitely a couple that I was like, this is no longer Cars. This is a straight up Toy Story riff that we got going on here. Yeah, and Kanye wrote, "Look for a window." Okay, so we're to the final race scene. We're coming in. At this point, I'm realizing that I'm probably not going to see as much racing as I wanted. I'm glad that I got to see what I did, but it kind of reminded me of when I talked to you after we saw Star Wars Rogue One, that I said there was a lot that I liked about it, but it's a Star Wars movie, and I want more lightsabers. There was not. There was one lightsaber in all of Rogue One, which was Darth Vader's,
which was pretty epic.
It was extremely epic. Don't get me wrong, but it's a Star Wars movie. I wanted more, and I'm not putting this on the same par as that because I did see plenty of racing in this, but I wanted more racing, and that's just because I wanted to geek out about it.
Yeah,
like all the stuff, but I could have dealt with a little bit more. Let's see. So let's just talk about now the actual race here. So we've got Lightning. He's going to do what he thinks he's got to do. He's going to try to beat Storm. He's realizing very quickly that maybe this isn't the right choice.
I love that, where he basically like falls on his sword almost for her.
Yeah,
he says this is going to be your opportunity now. Yeah. And
well, even before that, he just seemed so like he didn't know what he should be. He just seemed confused, right? And he didn't really have that confidence and just that what he was striving for. He seemed a little lost. So
yeah, for sure. And like, I think it was cool that he had that realization. I mean, he did say he always wanted it to be on his own terms when he was going to retire. You said that to me when I was talking to you about this moment. And I thought that was cool that he finally had that realization, and it wasn't like he had to talk about it with himself. He was just like, no, this is what I'm going to do. This is right. And the coolest part of that whole thing, he comes in to the pit and he says to Luigi and Guido, come on.
Suit her up, basically.
Yeah. Guido gets like one bolt started and he says, no, not me, her. And I love the fact that they don't even question him. They're just like, they go right over and start doing it. And from a vocal acting standpoint, I thought it was brilliant when she's like, what are you doing? Like, I really felt like she was like, what is going on? Like, what is happening? Are you going to tell me? And then he finally says it. Like, that vocal acting right there, I thought was like the pinnacle of the movie. Mm-hmm. And she races off and he says, you're going to go in. So before she races off, he says, you're going to go in. And when she says what, she does it in this awesome squeal. Like, it's like, what? But I can't even do it. It was so high pitched. Mm-hmm. It was just, again, to me, it was like the pinnacle of like the vocal aspect there. And I guess the other thing is I didn't realize, like, watching it until afterwards. I was like, I knew something was going to happen. Clearly, I knew he's probably going to retire. He's probably going to stop racing in some fashion, mm-hmm. and she's going to come in because, like Jeff said, we already saw the Dynaco pattern early on. Mm-hmm. I guess I didn't realize till afterwards that I was shocked at how well I thought it was written ultimately, because I was totally okay with his decision.
Yeah, I was too.
Oh, yeah.
And I was excited for Cruz, which I didn't think I was going to be.
And him. Like, I was excited for him too, that he's happy with this decision. He's okay with it. And
we wanted to talk about real quick the paint work that was done, that Ramon did on Cruz Ramirez, how it's it's perfect, but there's imperfections towards the back side of her,
right?
Where it kind of like goes off, and it's just really, it was good because it's awesome, but it showed like a flaw, like he did it quick.
Right.
You know, we liked that a lot.
Mhm.
That small
Yeah.
detail.
It looked fantastic, and you kind of chuckle like it's the best I can do.
Yeah.
But it's like it still looked awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what were your thoughts, Jeff, on like that transition? Did you think anything of it during like that whole Lightning to Cruise transition? Were you okay with it? Did it make you question anything?
No, it didn't make. I mean, I wasn't quite sure how the mechanics of it. She can just go in and race for him, but I mean, they dealt with that.
Right.
So,
Yeah. It doesn't have to be the racer; it just has to be the number.
Right. So that part, I was a little like, how is that going to work? But I think you said it, Julie, just how excited I was for Cruz to get in there.
Mm-hmm.
And by that time, I think we're all really just rooting for her. And so for her to be able to get to do that just left me really, pretty pumped for her.
Yeah, and Brian Fee talked about in a Slash Film article in an interview that they did with him that he talked about some alternate endings to the film, and he talked about that originally Lightning won that race, and then he decided after that, I'm going to retire and I'm going to coach Cruz, but it just didn't have that emotional impact. It was like all of a sudden, like he wins the race, the movie's over.
Right.
And so then they did one where he didn't race at all, and she took over, but that didn't work either.
Yeah.
So it really was
done
like
perfectly.
how to find.
Yeah.
I thought it was.
I think it had to happen this way, where he starts the race, she ends it. If he had raced and won and then starts training, you just kind of lose a little bit of what he was giving up, But then he's also realizing, now I'm going to be mentoring, and just the importance of mentoring.
Yeah.
That's such an important message in the story, I think, is how important mentoring is. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. In fact, I'll even bring it up. So Born from the 90s in the forum again said, suddenly it hit me really hard when I saw Doc smiling at McQueen. That's how my mentor saw me. It was crazy because I had a similar experience with my mentor, who I not only learned a lot from, but so did he. So in the forum, people are talking about their mentor relationships that they've had, and things like that as well. So I think it's a strong topic to touch on. And actually, I wanted to also talk about that. Denny Hamlin, Ultimate Fan, in the chat here, is saying that driver swap rule is actually used in NASCAR. And they talked about that at the Pixar event that I was at too, that, they said, how are we going to get this to work? But since they had the NASCAR consultants, they were able to know that was something that they could legitimately do. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So let's talk about something that we've talked about, and Jeff will get your thoughts, is when Cruz is in it and she's neck and neck with Jackson Storm.
So when Jackson backs off, right?
That's like the first element. Getting into her head.
Yep.
So now when Cruz is against the wall, right before she does her flip, but Jackson nudges her into the wall.
Oh, he's pushing
her.
Nudging.
Yeah.
Okay, so what did you think about that? Because my first question is, I was like, would he have just held her there? I feel like he's such a bully, he might have been like bumping her, like boom, boom, like smashing her to the wall. Kind of how the Rev and Go rookie was trying to do to Doc Hudson in his throwback video that we saw. So was there anything that stood out from there, like him holding her on the wall versus a bump, bump, bump?
No, nothing that it seemed like he was more just holding her there, I thought.
Yeah,
he was, but I was like, but I told her, I said, would it have been more powerful if it kind of matched that same boo, boo, where he's hitting her against the wall?
And I said, no.
She had a great point.
I said, no, that wouldn't have worked at all, because Jackson Storm is a male car. Cruz Ramirez is a female car. I feel like if Jackson was banging against the side of her against the wall, it would have been too violent.
Yeah.
Like it was like he would be hitting her rather than pushing her into the wall.
Rather than just
like get out of here.
Yeah, like racing, like you know what I mean? This isn't as violent in that racing scene than like this.
Right.
Yeah, that could be. I mean, I thought it was still pretty violent, right? I mean, all the sparks coming up, so it was pretty intense.
It absolutely was, but I like that she held her own there. She realized, and they talked about it in the forum as well, that somebody said like essentially like the that it was about facing your bullies as well and standing up to them. Don't let them get into your head. And that was cool that she finally realized that, and
Yeah.
that was the realization. And then she used everything that she had learned throughout that whole culmination. And it was like the ultimate lesson was the Doc Hudson doing the flip.
Okay, so let's talk about like the ending. What were your thoughts, Jeff, on seeing Lightning McQueen as the fabulous
Lightning McQueen.
Lightning McQueen?
I just thought, I have to think a little bit more about that. I thought it was kind of cool. I mean, I thought it was cool.
To see his like blue paint job was different though.
It was so different.
Definitely. Yeah.
Which now you can buy the plush at the Disney store. Cruz Ramirez is Dinoco 51 and the fabulous Lightning McQueen.
But I think
they're available online.
Fabulous Hudson Hornet. You know, that's kind of what I think.
Yeah.
So,
it was different.
Yeah.
And people are saying they want that fabulous Lightning McQueen in a die-cast. It's absolutely coming.
It's coming.
The Kmart Cars Day that happened this last Saturday. If you bought 5 cars, and you can mail away for a Precision Series version of that car. At least that's what we're presuming it is. It says it's a car that hasn't been seen yet, but there's been indications that that's the car. But yeah, it's definitely coming out in a die-cast form as well. They definitely held that one way back until that was like the big surprise. The Dinoco Cruise with all that they revealed, but that was a big thing there. I think the last thing that I wanted to talk about was just, and one of the reasons why I looked back and I thought, like, why is it okay? Why do I feel so okay with Lightning not going to be in the spotlight as far as a racer? And I think it was like so much of his veteran knowledge was able to work alongside with her rookie knowledge. And that's where it's like so important between that, the racer and the crew chief, where he talked about like, watch out for the tire marbles. There's going to be a bump coming up, and she raised up her suspension, and the car, the rookie behind her, skids out a little bit. And he says, watch that third turn. It's pretty slick.
Yeah.
And then the great joke of like, you've hit a wall, repeating it like the simulator. I mean, as much as there's people that said that this wasn't like it's another Cars movie and some people just bash Cars no matter what it is, the more and more I think about it, the more and more I'm like super impressed by the writing of it, how detailed it was. And just every time I told you after I saw the 7:30 showing, I was this close to buying the 10:30 showing and watching it right again.
He was.
Like, I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So try to see if there's anything else that was in there. I think we're pretty good.
Yeah,
I love the after credit stuff with Lizzie in the simulator, like
in the wind tunnel.
The wind tunnel where they have the wind hitting her.
It was like just it was like what, 16 miles? 17?
She's 12 miles an hour on the treadmill.
Yeah.
And then Mater trying to put the wrap on with all his like lights and bars and everything. Just thought it was so cool.
Yeah.
You have to go and see the film like 3 or 4 times just to try to catch all of that was going on in there. Because I want to watch the names, but I want to see all of that stuff that's going on. And oh man.
And Bobby Swift fan is saying, who thought Jackson Storm was going to crash? That's an interesting question. I don't know if I thought he was going to crash, but
I didn't think he was going to crash.
Because he seemed too confident. But that would have actually been kind of cool if she potentially nudged him off and he lost a little bit of control. But that would have been kind of like, anybody that's done that has been like Chick Hicks. And we haven't talked about Chick Hicks.
All right, we'll talk about him real quick.
Yes. So Chick Hicks, Bob Peterson voicing him. What did you think about that? Did you notice a difference right off the bat, Jeff?
Oh, yeah. I definitely noticed the difference. I didn't know, though, it was Bob Peterson. So I just thought, oh, that's weird. I wonder what Keaton's doing with his voice.
Right. Yeah.
Because, it did not sound like, I mean, it was close,
Yeah.
But,
I felt it was close in the beginning, in like the first time we see Chick Hicks, but in the other ending, all I could hear was Bob Peterson.
Yeah. Yeah. I still think it's okay, though. I mean,
I do too.
Obviously, it would be ideal if Michael Keaton could have been back for it, but, hey, whatever it was, whatever that reason might have been.
Scheduling conflicts.
Could have been Spider-Man people were talking about, could have been he's pseudo-retired, could have been founder press stuff that he was doing, who knows, but so kind of cool. So because, hey, Paulina jumped in. So she said she needs to watch it in IMAX. Yes, you absolutely do. So let's see. So I think that's pretty much it. I'll note that some people are talking about the Blu-ray and DVD. Yes, you can actually already pre-order it on different sites. Currently, it's one of the posters that's the cover that'll probably change out. But on Vudu, they have it where if you buy it now, pre-order it now, you get the shorty shorts, which are like the Buggin' ones and the
one that are like 30 seconds.
Yeah, the little short ones that are out there, 90 seconds, I think. Yeah. All right. So overall, I think that's a pretty solid. We liked the film. We were happy with it. I will absolutely see it at least one more time.
Probably this week.
At some point, probably.
You'll probably see it 2 more times in the theater.
We'll see.
At least 2 more times for me.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. I like at least 2 more. Yeah, that's good. Are you? Yeah, how many more times you want to see it? Because I've seen it a bunch. I even went on my own a couple times.
Well, I'd like to see it 2 more times, but logistically speaking, we'll probably have
like a 1 more time.
Yeah. It's hard to find a babysitter.
Well, you got to find somebody to watch the little guy. We already took him, but can't keep running.
Yeah.
I just think the messages in the movie are so good. So I've got a niece that I think would really enjoy it. She wants to be a teacher when she grows up, and I just think, again, the whole thing about mentoring and that the importance of that.
And you get a ton of that in teachers. How many teachers can you think back to in your life that just made such a huge impact in mentoring and bringing you along?
Yeah.
That's cool. Hit that one. Somebody say, what do you think about this? Can we talk briefly about the Frozen short in front of Coco?
Briefly, because we've been talking for an hour and a half.
Yeah, the only thing that I will talk about is that previews. So we experienced this when we went. We were telling Jeff ahead of time that we took our 3-year-old son there. I really feel like previews, and this is going to rock a lot of boats, they don't need to be there anymore. It used to be you went to the theater, you saw previews for movies, you would leave and you would talk to everybody about it. They're all released online way ahead of time now.
Yeah.
I don't need to rewatch them in the theater. Through apps and all these other things. Can we shorten it up, especially potentially in those types of movies? Because we did talk about, as Josh brings this up, we did talk about.
We brought our 3-year-old. 3, he's a new 3. So a 3-year-old our son, to come see Cars, but we sat through about 25 minutes of previews.
Then Lou, which
is 7 minutes.
It's not just the previews, right? We get commercials at our theater.
Yeah, that's same too. Yeah.
All the pre-entertainment, then the previews, then you've got the short film, then you've got, and I've heard
Well, then the theater commercials, turn off your phone, buy some snacks.
Right.
Watch this reel of our theater.
So by the time the movie got going, 10 minutes in, 15 minutes in, our son needed to take a little break. We had to go walk outside. I would absolutely love it if I didn't have to see as many previews. And that brings up the concern that we have on the Coco front with, we're going to have previews for probably 20 minutes or so.
Yeah.
We're going to have a 21-minute Frozen short. Then we're going to have an hour and a half approx on average movie.
Yeah.
That's going to be a long time for some kids to sit there.
Yeah.
I did not know it was 21 minutes long.
Wow. We believe that this was the one that was supposed to be.
Oh, it was definitely the one that was going to be the ABC special. That was
kind of like Toy Story of Terror and Toy Story The Time Forgot.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's going to be 20. So you're looking at almost 45 minutes before Coco even starts. We already know this is just going to be a date night movie.
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting. Our thoughts on it. I have mixed thoughts on it. I think it's a great thing. Like, some people are saying it's like a cash grab. I don't agree that it's a cash grab.
No.
I think what it is a fantastic way to get people in the seats that might not ordinarily go to see Coco, and they might think like, ooh, I don't know, is that going to be too scary? It's skeletons. Is it going to be questionable? I'm not sure. It sounds like a heavy topic. It's death, and Americans don't necessarily love to talk about death.
Yeah. But we want to see the Frozen thing.
But we want to see the Frozen thing. They did say that it's in theaters for a limited time, so it makes me wonder if it's only going to be for the first couple weeks. And then my prediction is they're still going to show it on ABC as a special. But yeah, so I think it's going to be a first couple weeks, and then it's going to be out and then normal. But that's going to be a long time. I'm kind of hoping that when it gets to that point, that the previews are cut back in order to make more time for the the 21-minute short, because that's going to be a total
featurette.
That's going to be a tone shift to go from Olaf joking around about
singing
holidays,
4 songs.
Singing songs, to then going into Coco, which has songs.
Yeah, but it's just a different tone.
Just a little bit different vibe going on there.
Yeah.
You're right. And like Lasseter talked about, they're both about families, they're both about traditions. Yeah. So there are some tie-ins. I just get concerned about kids getting antsy.
Yeah.
And how that translates to the end review of Coco.
Kids getting antsy, us getting antsy.
I'm okay to sit there, because we're gonna eat it up from a animation standpoint and get geeky on all that kind of stuff. But I just wonder about that from a kid standpoint. You know, how will that translate then?
Yeah, we definitely see it through different eyes now after taking our son to the theater. So
if a kid starts getting antsy, how's the parent going to review the movie overall if the kid's getting antsy? Because the kids aren't going to be the one that are going to do the review.
Yeah.
So,
and they're just going to say, wow, that was so long, you know, because they're combining all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and then Pauline is asking, why not a Pixar short? That's a good question. We don't know, but our prediction was essentially that because of everything getting backed up, render times were probably at a premium. And I think with the crunch of getting 2 films done this year, the render farms were probably backed up. And that would be just our prediction. And that the short was just not able to be done because of that, would be our guess, which is why they probably slotted in this thing that was announced on Oh My Disney in February 2016, the Olaf short, Olaf's Adventure, as a special first.
Like awards. Because the last time there was 2 features released in the same year, Lava came out the year before.
Well, that's true.
Lava was ahead, so Lava was the year behind. So now it's kind of caught up to...
Well, yeah, Lou was originally supposed to be released earlier, but then that got shelved because of all the backups with...
Yeah, so that's kind of how I...
Yeah. So it's interesting.
All right, well, we've been chatting for a long time.
Last question, because they've asked it a couple. They've asked it a couple times. Is did you think Sterling was the main villain? And I did not.
No, I don't think so either.
I didn't think he was going to be the main villain when I was started watching it. I thought like he was going to have some kind of tie, and I was not okay with how he was talking to Cruz, to be honest. Because at that point, I really liked her.
Yeah, me too.
And I was like, no.
But I told you, I said he's just thinking business. He's got tunnel vision on business.
Yeah, and like you said, he was keeping her as far away from the track as possible to not try to inspire McQueen, because he wanted him to retire.
Because he wanted McQueen to retire.
To get to the brand thing.
Yeah.
So there
cool.
You go. And yes, they need to sell Mater's hats at Cars Land. That's genius. His foam Dynaco hats, and the #1, like the lightning bolt. All right. Well, thank you again for everybody that stuck with us for this time. We talked for as long as the movie is about the movie. And really great conversations in there. Some good conversations in the forum. Remember, when this ends, any of these comments that are in the live chat here are not going to transfer over to the final video that'll end up posting to YouTube, just how YouTube works. So if you have any additional questions, comments, feel free to throw them out there in our video. Send us an email, info@pixarpost.com. Hit us up on any of our social media channels. Or you can, of course, what was the last thing I was going to say? I lost it. We've been talking too long.
I don't know. I've been up too long.
Yeah. So lots of good ways to reach out. And I was going to also say on the forum, if you have any other thoughts, feel free to chat in the forum, because some people are talking about, we've got a spoiler thread and a non-spoiler thread going. Well, Jeff, thanks again for joining us as well.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You've been doing some more recent posts recently about like the history of Pixar. You know, your site is called This Day in Pixar, like
That's
we talked
right.
about last time. So
yeah,
give everybody just a quick sense in case they didn't know.
Well, just
what your
like you
site
said, focusing mostly on the history of Pixar, whether it's theatrical releases, looking back at them. You might know what's on Thursday, 5 years ago, Brave came out.
Yes.
So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Be one for that. A little post about that.
Yeah, definitely. And then business aspects. I really enjoy the business aspects and the culture of the company and the people. So a lot of focus on their agreements with Disney, the film agreements, or their quarterly reports and annual reports when they were a public company. So
yeah, if anybody needs that type of detail, Jeff and This Day in Pixar is the place to go.
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome. So that ugly guy, thanks for joining on. Isael Prado, thanks for joining. Bobby Swift fan, you had another question, which was, did I think Cruz Ramirez was going to crash? I did not.
Nope, I didn't either.
No.
Somebody else is saying, answer, Bobby. So yes, no, I did not think she was going to crash. Jeff, did you think Cruz was going to crash?
No.
Yeah, it didn't feel like it for some reason. So, all right. Well, thanks again for joining in, everybody. I'm TJ.
I'm Julie.
And be sure to stay tuned to PixarPost.com all week for the latest Pixar news. Bye-bye.
See ya.